One thing that can make decluttering so much easier is knowing that the things that you're donating are going to really good causes and that they are going to truly benefit the recipients of your donations. But it can be really challenging to figure out where to donate different things, what charities want and need certain items, and how can you do the most good with your donations. I'm Tasha from the Get Organized HQ team, and I'm going to walk you through some suggestions of where to donate your decluttered items. Before I give some suggestions of some great charities that you can donate your decluttered items to, I do want to start with one major caveat. And that is that it is absolutely wonderful that you want to recycle and donate as much as you can to the most impactful charities. But it takes a lot more time and effort to go through the work of sorting the goods that you want to declutter, getting them to the different locations that they need to go to, tracking down whether or not certain charities are in your area. This is just going to take a lot more time and effort. And if you are currently in a season where you are stretched thin, you don't have much extra bandwidth for doing extra work like this, running extra errands, maybe going 30 minutes to the other side of town because that is where a specific charity drop off point is, then this may not be something for you to embrace in this season. It is better to get the clutter out of your house so that you can function well, so that maybe in the future you can set up systems to be donating items to these charities or to be recycling goods. But you do not want to continue to live with the clutter in your house just because you haven't had the opportunity to jump through hoops and get it mailed off to some very specific charity. Okay. So I want to encourage you that clutter out of your house is best. That is the end goal. Now, if you have a little bit of extra time, extra energy, the bandwidth to do things like this and to donate to some of these charities, that is the cherry on top to be able to do good with the things that we are donating. But do not feel guilty if you are not in a season where this is something that you can tackle. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is to prioritize your impact. Okay. So if you have tons and tons of clothing to declutter and it's in really good shape and you really want that to go to someone who could really use that, then maybe you are going to put some extra time and effort to finding a clothing donation charity somewhere that you can take this that you feel really, really good about. But on the flip side, if you just have two or three extra toys, they've been lying around for a while, you've decided that nobody's ever really going to use them, I might not go through the extra effort of finding a special charity just for two or three items. Those might go in some bulk donation to your regular donation drop off center. Okay. So really think about prioritizing your impact and whatever you have the most of, whatever type of item you have the most of, that is where I would center my effort on looking for a charity that I could be really impactful by donating to. Now, if you are one who finds yourself in the camp of really struggling just to get the clutter out of your house in the first place, and you're thinking, I can't even get my stuff into my car and drive it to Goodwill, I don't know how I could track down all of these different charities to donate to, I do want to make sure that you know that there are several different donation centers and charities that will actually come to your house and do a pickup. And this can be a game changer. You have a scheduled date and time on the calendar where someone is just going to come, take the bags and boxes off of your front porch for you, and poof, the clutter is gone from your house. Okay. So, a couple to look into. Some Goodwill locations will do this. Salvation Army is someone to check with. AmVets is somewhere to check with. Some Habitat for Humanity locations will also come to your house and do a pickup. There's actually a charity called the Furniture Bank Network. And if you have furniture that you're wanting to donate, they will sometimes come and do a pickup. So a lot of this is dependent on your area. You're going to have to do just a little bit of research and see, hey, like, is this particular service available at my address? But that can be a game changer. It's on the calendar to leave your house, and that can be a huge motivator in getting decluttering done because you know that on a certain date and time, someone is coming to your house to take all the clutter. So why not send as much as possible with them? So I did want to throw that out there as an option that several of these places will come and do a pickup for you. And that is the quickest, easiest way to donate your items. But let's talk about some specific items and some places where you might want to look into donating them for maximum impact. Now, here's the thing about donating to charities. Local charities are almost always going to be the place where you can have the most touch points with the impact that you're having, and where you can probably be the most excited about the results that you'll be able to see. The problem is, I am making this video for a global audience, okay? And so I cannot share which charities are available in your specific town. But if you have a lot of clothing, a lot of baby gear, if you have lots of camping things and you don't really go camping anymore, do a little bit of looking around, do some Googling, search your town baby gear donations, and see if there is a local charity that you could donate to, a shelter you could donate to, anything like that. Local charities are fantastic options. I think it's wonderful to be supporting what people are doing in our communities, but it's just not something that's feasible for me to be able to share with you because this is going to vary so much from town to town. But do a little bit of Google searching for local charities is always a great idea. That said, there are some more, at least in the United States, nationwide charities that are in most areas. So let's talk about some places you can donate clothing. Dress for Success. This is a charity that provides professional clothing to women that they might need, special outfits as they take on a new job or they have a job interview. And so if you have a lot of, blazers, skirts, those more like business casual, business professional type outfits, and maybe you're not in a season of needing those anymore, Dress for Success is a great option to look into. This is actually a charity that we here at Get Organized HQ first heard about, or actually, I guess I should say Laura herself first heard about before she ever started Get Organized HQ. She said that Dress for Success actually came to the place where she was working as an electrical engineer, and they said, hey, if anyone has clothing to donate to Dress for Success, we would take it. And she was able to take her clothing with her to work and donate it straight to them. So that's actually how we ever first heard about them. But you can look up Dress for Success online and see how you can donate to them. Also, local shelters. I know I was just talking about searching for local charities, but definitely look for local shelters in your town if you have clothing to donate. And if you have shoes to donate, another charity option is Soles for Souls. Okay. So like SOLES, like the soles of your shoes, for SOWLS, for souls, for people. And so that is one particularly looking for shoe donations. So if you've gone through your wardrobe, maybe your spouse's wardrobe or your kid's wardrobe, and you have some shoes that are still in good condition that you're wanting to donate, Soles for Souls is where you might want to look into for that. Okay, now what about kids and baby gear? So, toys or bassinets and strollers, all of those kinds of things. So, there's a charity called Second Chance Toys, and this is a really great option to donate your toys to, but there is a little bit of a tricky catch. They only accept donations in April and then again in November and December. So, you have to kind of seasonally time this. I don't know that I would hold on to my clutter for 6 months waiting for this charity to open up their donation receiving services. But if you happen to be decluttering in April or like November and December, maybe the holidays are coming up, you're decluttering some toys in preparation, anticipating some new ones coming in, Second Chance Toys is a great place to look. There's actually a lot of opportunities to donate toys to different things like Toys for Tots and things like that that will do toy drives around the holidays. Now, some of these are going to be asking for unused toys, unopened, never before played with. So if you're decluttering like well-loved toys, you may have to look for some special charities like Second Chance Toys that are willing to take secondhand, like hand-me-downs. But if you have any unopened toys that never really got used, that Christmas present that kind of got shoved to the back of the closet and forgotten, and now your kid or your grandkid has outgrown it, something like Toys for Tots is a great place to donate that. Once again, I feel like I could probably say this for pretty much every category of item, but look into local shelters and also any local foster programs, foster care, anything helping with children, being able to donate some toys there so that the kids in those situations have some things to play with can be a really great option. Another option you can look into, it's not really a charity, but it is a really impactful place that you could donate some of your stuff to a family in need, would be a Buy Nothing Facebook group. group. And so you can just go post, that stroller that you got when your kids were little that they've outgrown, or some of the toys that you have that nobody's playing with anymore. And you can pass those off to a family. And I feel like that's such a personal way to pass something along. Like, you are going to see the actual family and people who are going to be using the things that your family used and loved. And so Buy Nothing Facebook groups is a great option to look into, especially for kids and baby items that you have that are still in good condition. They still have life in them, and someone else could definitely get good use out of them. Next, let's talk about books. If you are decluttering a bunch of books, maybe you've read them, you're not really going to reread them, they weren't favorites, anything like that, what can you do with your books? Have you seen the little free libraries? Now, these are not in every town, but it kind of looks like a giant birdhouse. You can Google it and look it up. And it's just a big box that has a door that you open, and you can set books in there, and they just exist for people to walk by and pick up books that people have left for other people to enjoy. And so if there's little free libraries in your community, you could take some books that you're no longer using and put those in there. Definitely, I would think about what books you're putting in there. Ones that probably would be widely applicable. I might not put my Calculus 2 textbook into a little library, but if you have some good fiction books, or maybe some kids' chapter books that your kids have outgrown, that would be a great place to donate those. You can check with your local library. I don't know that all local libraries take book donations, but it's definitely worth making a phone call and saying, hey, I've got a bunch of books. They're in pretty good condition. Would you all be able to use them? And then also, this isn't really a donation, but you can sell your books to Half Price Books if there's a Half Price Books in your town. And you can actually get some nice spending money from doing that. And how great is that? You go, you declutter the books that you're no longer using, you get a little bit of money, and maybe you turn around and buy a few books that you would actually enjoy. So those are a couple of options of places to donate or sell, as the case may be, your books. Now, when it comes to furniture, I already mentioned the Furniture Bank Network when I was talking about places that will come and do a pickup for you. And that, man, that is quite a service when it comes to furniture, because you know what it's like trying to haul around a big piece of furniture. So I would definitely look into whether or not Furniture Bank Network would be willing to come to your specific address and do a pickup if you have furniture to get rid of. Habitat for Humanity Restore is another place that sells furniture. I was actually in a Habitat for Humanity Restore just today, and they had all sorts of dressers. I have seen bathroom vanities in there, couches, dining sets, all sorts of things like that. So they sell tons of furniture. So if Furniture Bank Network is not available in your area and you are able to take your donation to a donation center, look for Habitat for Humanity Restore locations near you. Now, let's talk about electronics. These are tricky ones, aren't they? So, if you have name brand electronics, I'm talking things made by Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, maybe even Samsung, I would look into whether or not a trade in is possible with the company. I know, especially with Apple, they're very good about trade ins. I recently traded in a laptop that I had purchased in 2019. I had not actually used the laptop in about 3 years. It had died on me, and we had updated and replaced it. But I'd held on to it, not really sure what to do with it. And we actually went because my husband needed to upgrade his phone. It was having battery problems, and you know how it goes when an iPhone starts to go out. And so I took that laptop up there and I was like, hey, can I give you all this? And they gave me a $250 gift card to Apple for trading in this old laptop that I wasn't even using. So first of all, it gets rid of the electronics that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it anyway. I believe that they're able to take parts of that and refurb and recycle them, and then you can get some cash for it too. So if you have name brand electronics, definitely look into whether or not you can do a trade-in and get a little bit of extra cash or even credit towards upgrading your electronics in the future. Best Buy is a place that will do electronics recycling. So if you just have some little odds and ends, they're not anything that you can really trade in anywhere, you can take in some electronics to Best Buy. Now, I do think sometimes they have a limit. I think my Best Buy has a limit of 5 items per drop off. So you can't take in boxes and boxes of electronics, but if you just have a few little things, not sure what to do with them, Your local Best Buy most likely will take those. I believe I had read that all Best Buys are doing that now. You might want to check that before you go. Just do a quick search or even call the store and say, hey, will you do electronics recycling? But I believe I have seen that they are all participating in that program now. And then another option is called Tech for Troops. So if you have tech that is still working, but it's not something that you are currently using, Tech for Troops is a service that provides tech to veterans. Now, the thing about Tech for Troops is that you do have to pay $20 in order to get the box from them and then ship off the tech to them. So it's going to cost a few dollars to do this, but that's a really great way to make an impact for those in your country by sending that to someone in need. So, Tech for Troops is another option to look into, especially if you have some electronics that they still have some life in them. They're not quite ready to be totally recycled. You might want to look into that as an option. Now, let's talk about what to do with those items that most donation centers are not going to accept. So, I'm talking about things like paint and food and toiletries and personal items. What in the world do we do with all of these? Do we just have to dump them in the trash? Thankfully, no. There is a service called Paint Care. It is available in a precious few states. So I'd look it up, search for Paint Care, see if they happen to serve your area. It's going to be pretty hit and miss whether or not you can take your paint to this location. But if they do, fantastic. You can take your paint to Paint Care. You can also take your paint to a local hazardous waste collection site. That's not super exciting or anything like that, but just search on Google your town hazardous waste collection and you can take your paint there. And then also, if you have unopened paint and if there's an art school in your area, it might be worth a phone call or even an email just to say, hey, I've got these paints. It's this kind of paint. It's this color. Would you all be able to use it as part of your art school program? The worst they can say is no, but you can see if it might be able to go to a good home there. Now, old towels, like used, nobody wants them. These are like have holes in them type towels. They're the ones that you use like to clean up oil or something if it spills out of your car in the garage. Those kinds of towels. Sometimes animal shelters will be able to take those and put them to good use for the animals. You definitely want to call ahead and make sure that the shelter is taking those in at this time, that is something that would be helpful to them. But there are times where animal shelters will take old towels. So if you have some old ones that are ready to go, before tossing them in the trash, maybe give your local animal shelter a call and see if they could use those. Food is a really tricky one to declutter. Now, if it's opened, if it's expired, there's really not a lot that you can do other than toss it. But if you have sealed canned goods that have not expired, shelf-stable things generally can be donated to a local food pantry. And that can clear so much space in the pantry, which can be a huge relief. I think it's easy to forget that we actually can declutter and donate our food as long as it's unopened and it's not expired. Toiletries and personal items. Once again, local shelters. I feel like a broken record. I know I've said it over and over, but if you have unopened toiletries and personal items, check with a local shelter and see if they could use them. Also, some local churches do things called blessing bags or have similar programs where they put together little bags of things that people might need. So you might check around with some local churches or even just do a search for blessing bags, churches in my town and see if anything comes up and if there's anywhere you could take toiletries there. And actually, the Ronald McDonald House will take toiletry donations. They collect things for when children are sick and their families have needs while they're dealing with that situation. Ronald McDonald House will probably be able to take your unopened toiletries and personal items donation. And then large appliances, those are really, really tricky. Now, if they're still working, I'd actually recommend putting it up on Facebook Marketplace. You can maybe make a few extra dollars for it, and somebody will come to your house and take it because they want it badly enough that they will come and load it up. And so that is super duper nice. But if you don't want to list it on Facebook Marketplace, Habitat for Humanity Restore, just like I mentioned for the furniture, that's also a place that you can look into donating your large appliances. So hopefully, this gave you some ideas of places that you can donate your items that you can feel really, really good about. But I want to go back to what I said at the beginning. Getting clutter out of our house is the most important thing. And so, if for you, that means throwing it into your trunk and driving to Goodwill, as long as the clutter is out of your house, that is a win. But if you want to look into some more charities that you can donate to and some other options so that maybe you can make your donations go just a little bit further, try some of the ones from this video. And if you're interested in selling your items to make a little bit more cash, Laura has a whole video on that you can check out at the link above.